Okay, and now to some questions from you. So let me answer some of the questions that have come in. The first one is, do you have any suggestions of what to do with your mind when you're feeling tired or sleepy and it's not time for bed? Would you say that this getting tired or sleepy is just a physical thing, or that we can become unsleepy or untired until bedtime by proper use of our mind? I think we can make our minds believe anything, okay? So if you're feeling a little bit down, you might find that you're a little bit more tired. If something great's happening, all of a sudden you can find lots of energy. So if you can see that there's not a problem physically, I think that it might be a little bit habitual that your mind is going to a tired place. So maybe you need to take some more rest in the day, but absolutely you can overcome how tired your body is to some degree with your mind. So maybe just experiment, see how you go. Another question, what meditation modalities do I use? I use the meditation modalities that I'm teaching you. I have some other ones in addition, but really most of what I'm teaching you is what I use for myself. I just use it for longer periods of time. So people are asking me, how long is it that I meditate for? I meditate for at least an hour a day. So usually from 5 till 6 in the morning. And I find that's wonderful. But I want you to start slow, okay? Do not start trying to meditate for an hour a day, or you will trip yourself up, as I said. Someone else asked how to get away from toxic people and how to not let other people's mean behaviors affect me. I'm going to really encourage you to go and listen to my podcast. This needs a little bit more time, but in my podcast, you'll find that I talk about this on a number of occasions, how not to get caught up in other people's energy. It's important to understand, first of all, that we are responsible for ourselves. So you have to realize that the only person that you can shift is you. So it's really important to be aware of the people who are limiting, the people who are toxic in your life, and really make some decisions around that. But have a listen to the In Your Right Mind podcast, where you find some information about it there. Another question, thank you for the wonderful presentation. It occurs to me that the concept of staying in the present moment has applications even to how we interact with others. For example, we are at our best in conversation when we're really in the moment, listening closely, not waiting for our turn to speak. Do you use your meditation tools when connecting to others in conversation? Wow, that's a great question, Michael. Thank you. Yes, absolutely I do. So as I was talking today in the presentation, it's the same thing. Staying completely present, not letting my mind run off, being here. It is the most extraordinary feeling when you're with someone and they're absolutely with you, that you know that they're not thinking about something else. And you just use your meditation and the conversation by anchoring in, listening intently, really caring about what the other person says, and not letting your mind dance off into other places. You will do this from using your practice. It will help you. And it's just, I think, one of the most extraordinary gifts for another person to show up and be completely present with them. So thank you, Michael. It's a wonderful question. Someone else has asked, what's the best way to get past the instant judgments, even if you are mindful? Sometimes it is instinctual and you can't control it. Without a doubt. It is practice. Practice. These are habits. I don't know how old you are. The person who wrote this, I don't know how old you are, but you have more than anything. You've got decades of practicing this stuff. So to shift your habits takes time. So be patient with yourself. It's not instinctual. You said even if you're mindful, sometimes it's instinctual. It's not instinctual, it's habitual. So if we're going to turn our habits around, it takes a little time to practice that. Okay? Great question. Thank you. Another question. How do you reconcile planning for our responsibilities in life with the being in the now only? It's not that you're in the now only. Of course you can, but plan for the future in the present moment. Know that the future is just an imagining. You don't know what's going to come. You absolutely have no idea. So be spacious. Try not be attached to the future. Know that the future as you envisage it probably isn't going to happen. But some things might happen. So be spacious with it. Have your plans be spacious. And plan for those in the present moment by being in the present. Know that anything can happen, okay? Don't create stories about what absolutely is going to be or happen. You can make your plans, just don't run off in your mind all the time into those plans for the future. They're just stories, they're just imaginings. Only the present moment will show you in the future what actually is going to be. So it's a good question. Another question, is meditation the main method to not make such quick assumptions or have such quick reactions, as in the story of your friend? Or are there other things that you suggest to overcome this tendency? Meditation is the most powerful. What happens is that there is a gap that starts to appear between when you have an experience and when you have the reaction. If there is another technique to slow the mind down, I don't know it. I would love to know it if anybody does, but meditation is the game changer. It's the one. So that would be the one. But if at any point you find something else that trains the mind to slow it down, I would love to hear about it. So thank you for that question. Yvonne asks, is there a breathing technique that you recommend for the most effective meditation? Yes, in the 10-minute mind I explain breathing. There are two schools of thoughts with it. One is that you breathe through the nose, and the other is you breathe through the mouth. It is really your personal preference. Some teachers will say breathe through the nose. I use mouth breathing because I was trained that that is the way to stop the discursive thoughts if you're breathing through your mouth. But it's really, for some of these things, your preference. It's like you have to find what works for you. So I would say experiment with both and see which one makes your mind calmer. Okay, great question. Thank you. Can meditation help young kids who are struggling with COVID? Should they meditate differently from older people? So if the kids are 6 years old, like you've mentioned here, yes, I think you would just find a program that was really focused towards them. It absolutely can help them with COVID. And I would also encourage the parents and the people around these kids to be doing meditation so that their anxious energy isn't going into the kids as well. So yes, please, please, please. And there are programs for this very young age group. I really encourage you to get the kids meditating. Or you get them to do the 10-minute mind with you and you see how they go. I have a young girl who started with me when she was 9 years old. So I think you just see what works. Try it out, experiment with them, and do it with them. It's very powerful that way. Thank you for that. Hi, as someone who has been exposed to meditation for several years, I've listened to podcasts regarding the possible dangers of meditation, which is often not talked about. I was curious if Monique would be willing to talk about that. I have a little bit of a theory about this. I am seeing that there's a few things like this. I think that you should always learn from a qualified teacher. It's very easy these days to have people who have been learning things like meditation for a very short amount of time teaching. There is a deep foundation in the practice that comes through in a very seasoned teacher. And I would encourage you to learn with a seasoned, reputable teacher. Okay, I think this is where some of the problem is coming from, is that people are learning meditation from teachers who don't have the experience to be able to hold the practice properly. And it's important not to think that anyone can teach meditation. They can't. So I think this is one of the big problems that have happened. It's almost like someone going through a weekend course or a couple of weeks course in something and then saying, oh, I'm a psychologist. I'm teaching what a psychologist teaches. There's a depth of understanding that comes from years and years and years of study and experience. So please make sure you're with a qualified teacher who can teach you the right ways to learn meditation. So yeah, it's a tricky world where you can go online and learn anything these days, isn't it? Do you have any tips on keeping to the habit every day? I know how helpful meditation can be. I just don't stick to it. Great question. Find a practice that you enjoy. Find a teacher that you like. Come and try me. If it's not me, find someone else. The Dalai Lama once said that, it's like we all come to these things with an ailment, and it's like going to the doctor. The doctor doesn't give every single person the same prescription. So find a practice that inspires you to keep doing it. Okay? Try me for 30 days. If you don't like it, I will not be offended. Then find someone else who you can learn from that inspires you to do it. But I think 10 minutes a day is really doable. And once you start to see the results, it'll get you excited about continuing. Thank you for being here and sharing your experiences and knowledge with us. Would you associate meditation with deep thinking? I'm not really sure what you mean by deep thinking, but I'm imagining it's that going into deep contemplative thought. You can do that in a meditative way. You absolutely can, but I wouldn't put the two together. I would say that meditation is a training of the mind, a training of working with thoughts, whereas deep thinking is more a contemplative practice. You might take theories of Eastern philosophy and contemplate on it after your meditation or before your meditation practice. That would be deep thinking. But otherwise, no, I wouldn't put the two together. I could equate it to be like jogging rather than weight training. Weight training is going to build the muscle of my body, just as meditation is going to build the muscle of my mind, whereas jogging is going to work on my cardio. I hope that makes sense. Thank you all so much. I know the team are putting the links here. Please come to my podcast. I podcast every single day. And come and join me in the 10-Minute Mind. I will be overjoyed to help you learn the practice of meditation. As always, go gently in the world.